We couldn't have this dinner tonight without inviting our next person to come up and say a few words for us. And I know you all heard of Carm Cozza over the years. He is a legend. He coached at Yale for 32 years and holds the distinction of being the university's winningest coach in history. And Yale's got a long history. I don't think we'll cover it all tonight, by the way. But he achieved legendary status during his career when he led the Bulldogs to 10 Ivy League championships and 19 winning seasons. He joined Yale in '63 as an assistant to John Pott and was named head coach 2 years later. He retired in 1996 with a record of 179, 119, and 5. Carm was selected Kodak District 1 Coach of the Year in Division I AA 7 times. He was elected into the College Football Hall of Fame in 2002. Carm was honored by our organization in 1997 with the Distinguished American Award, and we're thrilled to have him here to give comments tonight. Please welcome Hall of Fame coach Carm Cozza.
Thank you, Bill. When I received a call from the president of the National Football Foundation Hall of Fame, at that time was Bob Cassiola, I felt pretty good about myself. I was born and raised in a nunnery. I had 4 sisters and no brothers. I have 3 daughters and no sons, even a female dog. So this was very special to me, and I couldn't wait to go home and tell my wife. So I walked in the door and I said, "Hon, I got a call from Bob Cassiola. I'm being inducted into the Hall of Fame." She said, "That's nice. Going out in the garage and take the recycle bin out. They're coming tomorrow morning." I said, "Did you hear me? I'm being inducted into the Hall of Fame." She said, "I heard you. Take the bin out." I said, "Well, do you think either of my head coaches in college, Woody Hayes or Era Parsegan's wife, would ask them to take out the recycle bin?" She said, "If you were Woody or Era, I wouldn't ask you to take out the You know, I've been asked many times how I got into coaching, and I'm sure Randy and Tom and all of them had special reasons for it. I've loved athletics all my life. I wanted to be a professional athlete. I had the good fortune of playing organized baseball for 10 years, but I also wanted to coach. I really did. And I didn't realize it until I was a graduate assistant at Miami University under Era Parsegan after I graduated. And what I didn't realize is that I was going to meet so many unusual people. And I'm only going to tell you 3 quick stories about kickers. Now, if they're players, they're normal. But if they're not players, you know, they really march to a different drummer. Now, I love these guys, but can you imagine a guy 2.5 hours kicking the ball, going down and getting it, kicking it back, going down and getting it, and kicking it? I mean, you got to be different to do that. Now, I used to speak at a banquet up in Binghamton, New York, and I got to know a lot of the coaches there. And one of the coaches called me up and says, "Coach, I've got a great place kicker for you." Said he's very bright, he can get in, no problem. Now, I never met the young man, and we needed a kicker, and he comes in. Now he's a freshman, and in those days, freshmen were not eligible. And it's a raw day up in Cambridge, we're playing at Harvard, and when I say he was short, he could walk under these tables without bending over. Like I said, I never met him. The other thing I didn't know was he was a barefooted kicker. Now, it's freezing out there. And what does he do? But he zips himself in the ball bag. Now, we score. Now, the handle's on the outside. Now, the team scores, and no one knows where he is. Now, they see the ball bag rolling, and so they have to go for 2. Well, he was very upset about that. Now he's a sophomore. And the coach was right. He was really accurate. From the 20-yard line in, I could count on 3 points if the snap was there and the hole was there. But he was very unusual. Everybody loved him, including me. And he would do anything. He would shag balls. He would snap during pre-practice and all that. Well, this one day, he talked to one of the coaches into throwing him a pass. He said, "All right, go on out and hit the post." Now, you know, that's a pattern you run. Now, what we don't know is if he didn't see the post, if he looked back, or if he just ran into it. Well, what happens is he separated his shoulder. Now, I coach the kickers, unfortunately. And I put it in the beginning of practice to show the emphasis of it. And our trainer brings him on the field. He says, Carm, he said, Tony's got a separated shoulder. I said, what are you talking about? I said, you know, we have a shuttle bus service that runs the kids out to practice. I said, did he fall out of the bus? I know he didn't hit anybody. Sure enough, he says, his arm in a sling. I said, what did you do? And he wouldn't talk to me. Well, I said, look at you, little pipsqueak. You're kicking Saturday, and both of your arms are in a sling. We don't have anybody else. Well, he did a great job. And he made a speech at the banquet I wish I could have made. And now he's an orthopedic surgeon, Rich. He was a comedian all through high school. Now he's an orthopedic surgeon. The next one is a punter. Now this young man, I had the privilege of coaching an East-West Shrine game, and on the West Coast, they had Ray Goddard, maybe one of the greatest punters of all time. Now this young man I had a similar leg, and I'm not kidding you. He had one problem. He had stone hands, could not catch the ball from center. Now, we're going to play Cornell, and that whole week he dropped every snap. And we're making up our squad to go away, and I'm telling the coaches, you know what, I don't know if I want to take this guy. We're better off on the 1 yard line going for it. We have a better chance. Well, I said, well, Coach, you're going to punt? We don't have anybody else. So I took him. Now, we're on our own 40-yard line, and I send him in, and he goes back to punt, and he handles it beautifully and hits a shot that would have hit low-flying aircraft. He booms it right off. And he does it again, and he does it again. Now I'm thinking, maybe I make him nervous. Maybe if I stay away from him and don't get in his face all the time and chew him out, he'll be better. Now we're playing Princeton next week. We're up 13-6, and these aren't jokes. These are true stories. We're on the 8-yard line, and he goes back to punt. All of a sudden, he takes off with the football. Now we're in the first quarter, about only 8 minutes into it, and he has a brace on his left knee, terrible shape. He gets us out of the hole. He gets us to the 50-yard line. He runs off the field and jumps up on me. I said, Jimmy, I ought to punch your lights out. Well, the funny part about it was, one of the young Yale daily writers asked me if I called it. I said, do I look retarded? You think I'd have this guy running out of our end zone in the beginning of the game? Well, he got a job with NBC, and he brought his son up last fall, and he was just like him, a big smile on his face, but chipped, just like he was. Now the last one, some of you that watch TV are going to know who this young man is. He was a handsome kid. We recruited him out of Cleveland. He was a linebacker and a fullback. Could have been a football player. Anyway, he was the last conventional kicker I had, the right straight-ahead kicker. In fact, he got the Lou Groza Award in high school there. Really a good kicker. Now he's our kicker, and it's Friday before our opening ball game against University of Connecticut. And I have the team out. My coaches know you go through a pantomime with your team. I have them lined up, and I said, okay, Brian, kick the ball. He looks me in the eye and he says, Coach, I don't kick on Friday. Yeah, I'm standing there with this whole team, and this idiot tells me he's not kicking the ball on Friday. I said, what the hell are you talking about? Kick the ball. He walked away from me. So I guess I got a little redneck and I went after him. And one of the coaches said, Coach, don't get him upset. That's all we got. I said, get him upset. I'm going to kill that son. So I ended up kicking the ball. Now the next day he hits 3 field goals and 3 extra points. And I'm saying, you know what? Don't be a dumb coach. Don't kick on Friday anymore. So I don't kick on Friday anymore. Now he graduates. Thank God. And he's the one that gave me problems with the earring, the long hair. I was tough on that type of thing. I played under 2 coaches that wouldn't tolerate anything like that, nor did I. And the thing that bothered me more than anything else, he had a thing for my youngest daughter. And I warned her. I said, you end up with this guy, and I don't want to even see you for Christmas. I'll put up with him for 4 years, and I'll give him his degree. Get him out of here. Well, he calls the house, and he says, tell your dad I'm going to Hollywood. I said, that's right where he belongs with the rest of those cookies out there. Well, he gets on a Tuber Go commercial. I didn't even know what that was. It's a beer. He's Tarzan flying on a rope. He looked normal doing it. Then he got on a program, The Brady Bunch. Then he got the lead on General Hospital, and he played Grace Kelly's brother in a movie. Anyway, he writes us about once a month, and he can't write a small letter. It's a dissertation. And he called, whenever he calls, and I'm sure it's him, I let my wife answer. I don't want to talk to him. But we did take him to Maury's, and he thanked me for letting him express himself. I said, Brian, you don't know how many times I wanted to squeeze the air out of your head. He drove me up a wall for 4 years. But the greatest thing happened to me, he has a son just like him. I said, you deserve him, you son of a gun. I hope he drives you up a wall every day of your life. Well, anyway, let me get serious here for a moment. Why do we have sports? It gives people a sense of identity. It's a true American way of life. We all know that. And there's a true winner and a true loser, and everyone has a chance. It's a great common denominator. No one cares about your religion, your color of your skin, or how much money you got in your pocket. In order to be successful, it takes hard work and commitment. And there are no shortcuts. Every coach will tell you, you've got to work every day. You've got to put in the time, you've got to put in the commitment, and the coaches do too. After a tough loss, we look for answers. And feeling sorry for ourselves isn't the right answer. And that's why these young men back here have learned so many lessons that they couldn't possibly learn in a classroom. And that's how to accept defeat and not let it get to them and come back the next day and go to work. Tough decisions have to be made. And you learn how to do that. Recently, I had to make a tough decision. Some guy stole one of my wife's credit cards. And I was very upset till I got it back, the receipt back at the end of the month, and found out he spent less than she did, so I let him keep it. Hey, listen, I don't mean to pick on my wife. We've been happily married for 45 years. That's not bad out of 58 years of marriage. Let me get serious again for a moment. You athletes are too young to remember this, but a lot of the parents and grandparents will. In 1980, the United States, with amateur athletes, beat Russia in hockey. How many of you remember that? Prior to that, they were burning the American flag, they were stomping on it. All of a sudden, that one game united this country more than any other thing. If President Reagan were alive today, he would tell you that. Now, I thought he did a great job of trying to unite the country when it was really difficult. Those were very tough coaching times. There were more coaches fired at that time than you could count. And oftentimes it had nothing to do with wins and losses. It was discipline. It was black and white issues. All those things that came through. I've been very fortunate to coach at a great university with great young men. And a lot of them are here tonight, and I'd like to mention their names and have them stand up. I hope I don't miss anybody. But you've heard about Rich Diane, and I'm going to mention him first only because he drove me here and I want to ride home. He was an All-American, first-team All-American. He was a top-round draft pick by the Miami Dolphins, and the first year in the pros, he's in the Super Bowl. The next one is Bob Purcell, who went to Jonathan Law, and he was our captain in 1972 on a real good football team. We have Timmy Ahern from Ansonia. He's here. I saw him. We have Lenny Fasano, who gave awards to the foundation tonight, and his dad, incidentally, was a Yale graduate, Dr. Fasano. Joe Zeraw, also from the Valley, is here. Tom Vergotto and Mike Ciotti, who is a fine center on our football team, whose dad did a great job of coaching a freshman for us. I'd like them all to stand up and be recognized, please. And if I missed anybody, I apologize. You know, there are three groups of people. People that want things to happen, people that wait for things to happen, and people that make things happen. And these fine young men, these 30 young men behind us, are in that last category. They didn't only excel on the athletic field, they excelled in the classroom. And they're special people. And they will be the leaders of our communities, I promise you that.